Hello, my name is Fred Holmes. I want to welcome you to your Fast Start training, Part 1, the story. Now, the story, you're going to learn a number of stories over the next several weeks. You're going to learn the story of the company story, the product story. You're going to learn the stories of your upline support team members. You're going to eventually learn the stories of your downline. What we want to do right now is understand your own personal story. And see, this is really key. It was something I was taught 30 years ago when I first got involved in this kind of business. Some of you already know I used to be a cross-country truck driver, and I was looking for a way to create, financial security and time freedom for my young family and myself as we were growing up. And one of the things that I was taught was that you only get one chance to build your Fast Start story. Now, it's important to realize that the story that you develop, that is going to be critical to your not only short-term success, but your long-term success. You're going to be telling the story of how you got involved and what you did. You're going to be telling that for the rest of your Zija career. And so you may have heard there's a number of stories. You got the elevator story, the 90-second story, you got the 2 to 3 minute story, what have you. We want to focus on the 60-second story and the elements of this story. And I want to kind of preface this conversation by something that Jim Rohn shared many years ago, and it really stuck in my head. The most important thing is to have a good story to tell. Now, number 2, learn how to tell your story well. And then number 3, if you share a good story often enough, it will eventually fall on good ears. And see, that's the magic of what we do. In our type of business, success is inevitable so long as you have the hardest part down, which is find the right company. Okay, that's the hardest part of what we do. Now, if you share your story, first have a good story to tell, then learn how to tell it well, and then finally, if you share that story often enough, it'll eventually fall on the correct ears. And that's the exciting part of what we do, is it's inevitable that you will achieve success if you just keep doing correct activities on a consistent basis over a prolonged period of time. You're going to hear me talk about that throughout the different segments of your Fast Start training. So let's start with your personal story. There's 3 elements to it. You're probably going to want to get your journal out, write this stuff down. 3 elements to your story. Number 1 is your background and motivation to get involved with Zija. And this is the story that we like to tell. Okay, this is, who you are, why you came here, that sort of thing. And I'll elaborate on that in a moment. Now, second element of your story is how you got started and what you did. Now, that's going to be pretty consistent across all of you and your stories, is how you got started. You're going to talk about the package you started with. Maybe you started with the, the gold package or the diamond package or the enhanced system. Whatever the package you started with, that's what you started with. Then the second half of that second component is what you did. Now, what you did is you plugged into a simple duplicatable system that you were taught. So that second component of your story is how you got started and what you did. Now, the third component of the story is results. And results means making money. Now, this story, the concept of the 3 elements of the story, that applies to your product story, to your business story, what have you. But we're talking about the business story right now. So, your background and motivation to get started. Now, in my case, I was a cross-country truck driver. And I was motivated to get involved in this profession to be able to provide the needs of my son as he was entering school and to have time freedom to be able to raise him. Okay, that's the drama of the story. Okay, your story might be, I was a stay-at-home mom and we needed to have more income, and I wanted to find a way to create income but work at home to be able to take care of the kids. See, it doesn't make any difference what your background and motivation is. it is your background and motivation. And you have enough stories, you'll eventually have somebody that resonates with the prospect because they're going to share your background or your motivation. The second component, how you got started. In my case, I started with the diamond pack, and then I plugged into the simple system that creates duplication. Third component of the story. And within my first 2 weeks, I was able to earn well over $1,300 and go into profitability. Now, that's your story. Now, some people think the stories of the incredibly successful people are the stories that you need to be told. Well, for some people, yes. Okay, if you're prospecting somebody that's accustomed to an above average level of income, you need to make sure that the stories you're sharing are relevant to them. However, listen to this story. I was a stay-at-home mom. Was looking for a way to create some additional income just to help out with the family budget. What I did when I was introduced to Zija, I saw a great product, a great opportunity, and people that wanted to help me. And so what I did, I started with the gold pack. I plugged into that simple system that I was being taught, and within my first 30 days, I'd made over $300. And I want you to think about this for a minute. For the average family to be able to have a home-based business that doesn't disturb their lifestyle, and at the end of the month have an extra $300 or $400, that's a powerful, powerful thing. You don't need to make $1 million to be able to change people's lives. Now, a well-constructed story, your background and motivation to get involved, how you got started and what you did, and then your results. The well-constructed story becomes the guide, the roadmap for the prospective distributor on what they should do to get the results that you got. And so you want to make sure that your story is follow those 3 points, your background and motivation to get involved, how you got started and what you did, and then results. It's important to understand people make decisions based upon this emotional attachment to what we're doing. The facts that we think are important, the Ken Brailsford story, the Moringa story, and so on, that simply validates a decision somebody's already made because of the stories they've heard. People want to have what we've got. We need to know how to share that with them. And so this is the first thing, and then I want to make one last comment before I close this section. You get one chance to get off to a fast start. Now, it's important in the beginning to recognize that. It's actually easier to get off to a fast start in our business than a slow start. Now, what do you do if you've been around for a while? What do you do if you've been in a year? Maybe you didn't understand this. Maybe your motivation wasn't at the level it is today. You get a do-over. See, you could evaporate time by simply saying, you know, I was introduced to Zija, started using the product a year ago, I've lost 23 pounds, I feel great, what have you, and then last week I had a chance to meet with some of the top income earners in the company, and I got excited about what my potential could be. And let me tell you what's happened in the last 7 days. And then background motivation to get involved, how you got started and what you did, plugged into a simple system, and then your results. So one of the very few times in life you get to do a do-over, if you will, with your story. So that's part one, the story. Stay tuned. We're going to go into the next part of the Fast Start training, and looking forward to seeing you there.